Hello and welcome back to What's Streaming. We are now on episode 9, and guess what? We have got a brand new Marvel episode. Woo-woo! As always, Rob is here, and now we are joined by Mo. How are we doing, guys?
Doing very good, thank you. How are you, Josh?
I'm great. I'm good. It's very early in the morning as it approaches 9 o'clock, but we
Yeah.
are raring to go. If the black and white wasn't a big clue to what we're talking about today, we are obviously talking about Marvel Studios' upcoming special Werewolf by Night. We all got an early look at the brand new special. We're going to share some thoughts, might dive into some spoilers. But yeah, we'll start with you, Rob. What did you think?
This is the best, like most I won't say it's the best, but it's the most creative thing that Marvel Studios has done. And I think I've tweeted something along those lines like twice now about it. It's such a drastic difference than what the rest of the MCU has to offer. And I thought like when Miss Marvel came out and like the way that they did Miss Marvel, I thought that was like the most creative thing. But then this came out, and this for me blew that when it comes to like stylism, the most.
Very, very nice. What about you, Mo? I know you're a
Yeah.
big werewolf and horror fan.
Oh, I am. That is a very accurate reading of my likes and dislikes there. Thank you, Josh. You know me very well.
Just
No, I liked it. I think from the moment that there were rumors of it going to be black and white, I was like, okay, cool. That's a very intentional. It's like a very kind of bold, creative choice to make. And then once we saw the trailer, and then we saw how much it was really going to lean into everything, because there were rumors about or there were reports about the suit being practical, like back in May and stuff like that. So as things were sort of piecing together, it was like, right, this is either going to be really, really good or it's going to be like really bad. But either way, it's going to be a very creative thing, and people will like it because it's genuinely good and like it succeeds in taking the risks, or they'll like it because it's quite campy and sort of like gets a cult following afterwards. But I thought it was very, very good. I thought the risks that they took paid off really well. Um, and it's also Michael Giacchino's first director. It's his directorial debut. I think he did a couple of short films as well, but it's really, really like it's interesting when people cross over. Like you get actors that go and do directing, and usually they're quite good, but getting a composer to go and do directing, like that jump is just seems a bit like more of a jump. So it was really good that he accomplished that, and it came out so well. So
no, definitely. I was easily surprised by this. Um, I I was excited, obviously going into it, but it wasn't something that was top of my radar, and I think because of that, I enjoyed it more. Um, so when I was watching it, and you've got this camp horror, you've got very stylistic choices. I think that the whole thing is wrapped up in a lovely bow by the end of it. There is some little bits of humor which sort of relaxed me more with it, and helped me enjoy it. But ultimately, the horror and the action is this special's biggest selling point. Um, and I don't. I'd argue I don't think they could have done a better job with the practical suit for Jack. Um, I think it just looked obviously, even though it's practical, it looks really polished. And there is that level of detail. And I am glad they didn't go CG with it. Because we'll get onto Man Thing in a bit, because there has been a little chatter about Man Thing and how some scenes it's very clear that it is CGI. But I understand when you've got a big 7 foot, 8 foot, however big he is, it would be difficult. properly rigging that for a practical effect. But no, I was impressed with the whole thing. The music as well was very good. So yeah.
Well, yeah, that was the thing. Because I did see a review that didn't get taken down that mentioned how the special is 95% black and white.
Yeah.
So that other 5%, when it goes into color, you really do notice the bad CGI there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say when in the episode that is, but it like that element of it. I like like the kind of things that stopped me from, if I was reviewing it, giving it a full 5 out of 5, perfect, like thing, the most amazing thing ever, was because I understand what they were trying to do with the black and white.
Yeah.
But it was very obvious that they'd shot it in color, not in black and white, or they'd shot the bulk of it in color, not in black and white.
Yeah.
And then had just desaturated the rest of it. And you understand why when you watch it, which I'm not going to say why, but it's those little bursts of color when a certain thing is on screen.
Yeah. No, I think it was a very creative choice.
Yeah.
The whole thing itself is very creative. So the little bits of color that we do get is very interesting.
But that the scene that I first noticed, I was like, right, this has been desaturated, not shot in black and white, was when he goes into the room for the first time and he looks up at the ceiling, and then I could notice like, right, okay, there are little flecks of color throughout this. What? Sorry, there's something like flying around in my room. I'm not sure
There
what
was
it
a
is.
ghost. There was a ghost
There
in
is.
Mo's room, guys.
It's man thing because he knows I'm about to talk smack about him right now. um, but yeah, but I mean, I understand why they did it because they needed to show, they wanted to show that little bit of color in that scene, so they couldn't shoot the whole thing in black and white. They'd rather have desaturated around that bit of color, and then. Can you see how difficult it is to not talk spoilers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Marshall,
no,
if
it
you're
is.
if Marshall, if you're listening to this, which I don't think that you are, but if you are listening to it, this is the lengths I'll go to not spoil things. But no, I do agree that like on the whole, the creative risks paid off as far as leaning into like the campiness of it, leaning into even like that scene where Verusa is screaming that's in the trailer. Like that's just so it's so weird and it would look so out of place if that was being surrounded by a big CGI action set piece. If it was in any other Marvel show, but it wasn't, and it was in this, and I think it's a perfect way of introducing new characters without committing them to a series or committing them to a film. Um, and I like to see the creativity aspect of it. I'd like to see the specials used, obviously sparingly, but I'd like this to be like. I'm glad that they did this one first as opposed to doing the Guardians one first.
Yeah. I will
I'm done now.
say, okay. I will say quickly. Obviously, I think this is the biggest bonus of having Disney Plus. We're not just getting films anymore. We're past the normality of MCU series, and now to have specials as well is it's another benefit of Disney Plus. Like, imagine if I think me and Rob mentioned it on a podcast the other week. If Disney Plus wasn't a thing, we would be so far back in phase 4 right now. So to have both theatrical and Disney Plus side by side is great because you do get these more creative stories. You get a few different mediums to tell these stories, so it is perfect. What
Is
do
there
you
any is there any medium the MCU could go into now?
audiobooks?
Like audiobooks, canon.
There is a big market for audiobooks.
I'm saying like they
Apparently,
did
so
movies,
podcasts.
TVs. Yeah, they did movies,
The-
TVs, doing specials now.
um,
Audiobooks, okay,
podcasts
podcasts.
Yeah.
like the
We
In
need more
Universe Scott
canon.
Lang podcast.
Yeah, we need
Um,
more canon content.
yeah, I mean, I feel like the MCU could do comics. Like, I
They
feel like
already
that's
have actually. They have.
I
They've
know.
released a few prequel comics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the tie-in, the prelude ones.
Mhm.
But yeah, I feel like they need to. But it's funny though because they started off when they were releasing the films. They started off obviously doing the films and then doing the one shots.
Yeah.
And then the series. I remember Kevin Feige was doing an AMA on Reddit years ago, and he said that what he wants to do with the series is expand on the idea of those one shots a little bit more. But obviously now what he's doing with with the specials is like truncating a series down, and I feel like it's just going to get smaller and smaller until it becomes a one shot again. Um,
Yeah.
so it's interesting. I like to see. I like that they aren't committing. Um, like it gives a lot of confidence in streaming, I suppose, as a distribution method that people are this excited for something that if you were to see any other streaming service do a special for something, one of the ways it could do it actually is interactive content, but Disney Plus doesn't have the capabilities for that yet, but maybe soon. Um, but yeah, you see like a special episode of like any other thing, and it's not. It just sort of falls a little bit flat, I guess. Um, but no, it's really definitely an interesting experiment, and as I said, I'm glad that they didn't do the Guardians one first because we all know my feelings on everything about that.
Yeah.
I just don't like Christmas. I'm a Grinch. Like, like, like you know what I'm saying. Like when we watch the spooky intro for the spooky Marvel Studios intro for this one, and you just know that there's going to be bells and
And
tinsel.
snow's gonna
Oh
come
yeah,
down.
snow's
Woo!
falling down.
Christmas.
It's gonna be that, and it's gonna annoy the hell out of me. Like I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna be like, right, end it now. Just stop. It doesn't need to happen.
I love
But
Christmas. I can't hate.
Christmas is great. Like,
Best time of the year. It's so happy. It's so
easily.
happy.
the best time of the year is by far mid-July.
Mm.
And
Okay,
Lana Del Rey.
Werewolf by Night. Werewolf by Night.
Go on, Rob.
Where were we at? What was I?
Talking about how awful Man Thing looks. And
how
I want to quickly insert something. Mo said, obviously, that 5% of the special when there is no black and white. I think even in black and white, he looked ridiculous. There is a sequence where Man Thing is hiding. I won't tell you why he's hiding, but he's hiding in some bushes, and the face just looks unreal, and not a good unreal. Like the way the eyes move, it felt like a rushed job. There was no effort to make it look like you've got dragons in Shang-Chi that look real. So why can't we have? I don't even know what Man Thing is. Is he like a tree person sort of thing?
He's like a dude who became like a living plant, basically.
So we've
Just
got a
stick some
living
twigs on him
plant,
and call
but
him a day.
yeah, it just the face really threw me off, especially in those scenes where it's only the face. It looks a lot better when you've got the full CG model in frame, but I think when you zone in on one specific point, you will pick out more things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Do you have
the,
anything to add, Rob?
Yeah, so he does look bad. Okay. I get it. I get that it wasn't the best looking. He's so fucking cool though. Like
Yeah.
like in my eyes, like I was like, oh, that doesn't like that's not that great. But then when a little bit of action started to kick in, done. I do not care about the CGI. That was so cool. No spoilers on what happens, but it's awesome. That's what I'll add about Man Thing.
Yeah, I mean, when like Josh said, when you've got his whole body in frame, it's fine. When Man Thing's moving around, totally fine. but it's when you're focusing on the eyes that you can see are just painstakingly like animated, and the face you can see is just like those poor CGI artists, man. They're like, oh my goodness. And you know what I bet it is. I bet that Marvel was like, oh, you know what? Make the model black and white, and then they desaturated, like they animated it in black and white, because
That
that's
would
the
make the
only
most
reason.
sense, though. Yeah.
That's the only reason why I would feel like the shadows are a little bit off and the lighting felt a little bit off on Man Thing, and the hands. But my beef with Man Thing extends far deeper than the superficial surface level look. In that I just don't get it, and I have you seen Parks and Rec? Have either of you seen
Yeah.
Parks and Rec?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. You know when Ben White is like, everyone in Pawnee is like, oh, we love little Sebastian, and I'm standing there and I'm like, am I missing something? Is this like a big inside joke? Because every single reaction was like, oh, Man Thing is going to be a fan favorite. How? How is he going to be a fan favorite?
Because he's iconic.
He's just
He's
cool.
not iconic.
He's
He's
a
not
living
iconic.
he's a living plant who also happens to be the
There's Groot.
protector of all Nexus realities throughout the multiverse. So
We
Yeah,
have Groot
Mo.
and we have Wonder.
yeah, but they're not a man thing. Okay.
Oh, okay.
He's
I don't,
the man thing.
but I don't understand it, and I'm never gonna understand it, and maybe that's okay.
It's like
But
a
I
I
will.
feel like it's a Groot situation here, you know?
Yeah.
It's not a group situation.
Well,
Groot
when
is
you
It's
fine.
a baby Groot situation, I think. Like, I
No,
don't know.
no. Baby Groot is adorable. Fine, I can, but that I can see as like a thing. Like, I may not like Baby Groot because he's adorable, but I can see why people find him adorable, and I can see why that connects
Oh,
with people.
okay. Okay.
Whereas I just don't see that connection for Man Thing. I'm like, literally, what am I looking for? Like, what is it about him that makes people connect?
I
And I
think
just
it's
don't
the
understand it.
He's
being a gentle giant.
yeah.
Yeah, were you watching the same special that I watched?
And his powers
Yeah.
are cool as fuck. So
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh, there are many gentle giants in the MCU. Man Thing was just not it for me. We had like if people are like, oh, we've got Thor and he's a himbo. Like, we don't need we don't need another himbo.
Yeah, but it's okay.
it's fine.
Okay, right. Am I just never gonna get Man Thing and that's okay? Are we okay with that?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Right. I'm fine.
Now we have a very special guest on the podcast now.
Uh,
Give it up for Man Thing.
Oh my god! Oh my god! He was soundproofed, right? He couldn't hear
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
that was going on. Right? Okay, awesome. I'm such a huge fan of you, Man Thing. How are you doing?
Now, I'd argue there is another character in this special who is just as iconic as Man Thing, and it's Elsa Bloodstone.
Ulysses
Um,
Bloodstone, yes. Elsa Bloodstone.
What did I say?
No, I was just saying. I was just joking. You said Elsa.
Oh, some of her fighting sequences were so good.
yeah.
And she looked badass. And out of anyone in this special, obviously Jack Russell's a given, but I really hope we get to see her again in the MCU.
It takes place in the MCU. We know it takes place in the MCU. Like,
Okay, can we?
it's
Okay.
it's set in the
Don't be
MCU.
spoilery.
Can we say that?
Yeah,
This
we
is what I
can.
mean. That's why I didn't say.
Well, no, because I can't say it. Okay, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not going to say why we know it takes place in the MCU. I'm just saying we know it does. We know it does.
Okay.
Only because there's nothing with a Marvel Studios logo on top of it, and Kevin Feige executive producing, and Michael Giacchino has said that he wants to see the characters come up in future projects. So we know it takes place in the MCU, right? We know that for a
Yes.
fact. We also know it takes place at the very least in like in at the very earliest it would take place is 1961.
Yeah.
So that's all. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not saying. I mean, we also do know, like we can say presumptively it takes place much later on, but I can't say why. We know that.
Yeah.
So that's all. That's all. That's all it was.
Okay.
All it was.
Okay.
Chill out. Chill out. Chill out. But oh my goodness, but we got to see where Marvel places it in the timeline, right?
Oh
'Cause
yeah.
everyone knows whether that Disney Plus timeline is gospel.
Yeah, I'm really as time goes on, I'm thinking it's less and less reliable. I'll be honest.
Yeah, yeah, we've got Dakota
Especially
for
more
that.
recently. Especially more recently.
Because they have like
We-
people for that now. Like they have like the same way that Lucasfilm has had their story group. Like Marvel has their version of that now, I believe. So I'm wondering, like, are they? I don't know. I don't know.
I think obviously
Maybe
this is really off topic. It's nothing to do with Werewolf by Night, but the fact that obviously they do have that story group now is my biggest frustration when people say, "Oh, there's no direction for the MCU," and especially more recently now that Michael Waldron is writing
hmm
um,
Secret
Secret
Wars.
Secret
Wars.
Wars. Obviously, there's two different writers for Kang and Secret Wars, and people are like, "Oh, there's going to be no continuity," and no one in their right mind can say that when this whole universe exists, like everything is connected. There's similar story beats and everything. So yeah, that's just my little rant.
yeah, it's a good run, and I think on the note about like that continuity, like a lot of the time directors will get the full credit, as they partially mostly should get the full credit for how the end product of something is. But when you're doing franchise storytelling, I would say direction is a lot less important. Um, it still is important, but it's not as important as it is outside of franchise storytelling. Um, and so when you've got so something like this that relies on a lot of concepts that are carried throughout multiple different projects, um, that are delivered in different ways, like for instance a series and a special, and then a film. You need to have that continuity, in your concepts and your narrative rather than directorial continuity. Variation in directors is a really good thing, because I don't think that, like, if this was 5 years ago, we would not have got projects like, um, Multiverse of Madness and a full length Werewolf by Night feature film shot in the same way as the special was. We would not have got those two things within the same year. Like those would be totally out of the question. So I think it's really, like, conceptually and narratively, the screenwriters have greater importance in the overall delivery and presentation of a franchise film, or a franchise project like one set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as opposed to the importance that they would have outside of franchise filmmaking. So I think it's good. It's good that Michael Waldron is kind of he set up the multiverse in Loki. He kind of expanded on it a little bit in Doctor Strange, and now he's getting to close it out with Secret Wars. I think that's a really good narrative through line that will hopefully, um, be satisfying, I suppose, conceptually, and bring everything to a close.
Wow. Yes. That was chef's kiss. Couldn't have said it better myself. Because I don't know a lot of those words.
I do
You know the
struggle
word
with big
concept.
words.
I know,
Um,
yeah, I know a few of them words.
I've been awake for 12 hours, so I could be. It could be the Nespresso that's Sorry, the coffee, the unbranded coffee that I've had. That is hashtag no free clout. The
Exactly.
unbranded coffee that I've had, keeping me talking absolute shit sometimes. Speaking of Monster Energy,
No, blocked out the logo. No free clout.
what did you think about some of the things that were alluded to in the special? Like all the, like obviously we know that there's this cabal of monster hunters in the Bloodstone Manor that have been and the Bloodstones are all kind of world famous monster hunters. So what do we think about some of their trophies? Because there was the one in particular that stood out to me, and it was the goblin-y one almost, where and the bust was on the wall, and Jack was saying something to another character, and they really focused in on that. What do you think about some of those other monsters in that were alluded to in the special? And do you think that we'll get a chance? Obviously, not the dead ones, but do you think we'll get a chance to see different creature designs? And what projects do you think we would see them in?
So yeah, I definitely want to see more. It's hard to talk about this without getting into spoilers because a lot of what I want to say has to do with the context of that scene and like what's said. Um, I mean, obviously, if we're talking about future projects and monsters as such as the ones we saw, I mean, Blade is up there, and then if we do eventually get it, Midnight Suns. I feel like those are the two most obvious for those types of creatures to show up. Um, Other than that, I think depending on if they stick to the heavy Egyptian like God storyline as they did with season one, um, or they could venture off into more the supernatural side of Moon Knight, I could see maybe season two. Because we got some of that, but at the same time, those creatures were tied to Egyptian gods. So maybe we get to see in season two Moon Knight fight just some creatures that don't have to do with that, and they're just the same ones that the monster hunters would be fighting.
Yeah, and I think like I think one of the good things, as I'm thinking about it now, one of the good things about the special is the fact that it's so difficult to talk about, um, and kind of predict where it's going to go in that aspect of it. It just indicates that it was a special. It wanted to just showcase and tell a singular story without trying to set anything up or promise or set up a promise that a future filmmaker is going to have to deliver on. It just wanted to tell a complete story, and I think it did such a good job of doing that. Like it did, like there are obvious things that you can talk about, like oh, I want to see these two characters pair up together at some point in the future. But aside from that, like it just told a complete, satisfying story. It introduced the concepts really simply. It was a very, very, very simple story, um, that I think worked well in the format. Like, and that's another reason that I'm not looking forward to the Guardians one, is because you know it's gonna be
Yeah.
kind of like a prelude to that. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I think I even said it to you like right after. It's Werewolf by Night was so it was just so good and it set such a standard for the future specials that when we end up getting Guardians, now I don't have any doubt that Guardians will not like it'll be entertaining. Like it'll be a good watch. It'll be a really fun watch. But it won't grasp that same like hook the way that Werewolf by Night hooked me and had me just fully focused. Like the holiday special for me is most likely just gonna be like a kickback, have some laughs, just enjoy, a little short hour adventure that acts as a prelude for uh Guardians 3. But I'm just I'm already in that mindset that I'm not gonna enjoy it as much. So
Josh,
I
we were
will. I will jump in and say that um, I can't remember what made me think of this, but I do think. Oh, that was it. obviously with the holiday special, it will be sort of like a relaxed watch. But I found Werewolf by Night to be quite an easy watch too. It wasn't too intense at times, and I think there's that possibility that people that don't really watch Marvel films can watch Werewolf by Night and appreciate it for what it is. Obviously, people will overrate things because they have a superhero label to them, but I think that it's a bit different with Werewolf by Night because of its lack of more connected ties and universe stuff. So because
Yeah, it's the
when I was watching it, it was just, I don't know how to explain it. I was obviously watching it and it had my full attention, but it wasn't like I had to be glued and I was listening to every word in case, Kang bloody showed up. Do you know what I mean? Like it was a great easy 50-minute watch. Like more
yeah,
more of that.
exactly. It's the same thing with Moon Knight as well. Like we got like it had what a countable on one hand number of connections to the MCU at large. They got rid of the gore reference that they would have that would have been there. They got rid of that. They got rid of a lot of connections to just try and tell a singular story, focused on this character without trying to tease up a future appearance or something like that. And I think that that is really fantastic. That it just shows that Marvel can do storytelling. And as much as I don't like this film that I'm about to mention, Thor: Love and Thunder did that as well. Like it just told a story with a character that you knew, with characters that you knew, already having seen their development or whatever, and just put them on like Thor: Love and Thunder. If that was just a special, I probably would have liked it a lot more because you got 50 minutes because the film itself is really short anyway, and Gore doesn't come into it until well, like he doesn't start kind of doing the killy things. If you're gonna cut out all of Gore's kills anyway, Thor doesn't go through a lot of character development. There's not, but like from the moment that Thor's actually like spending time on the mission, there's a complete arc there that you could have just told. Um, but anyway, um, that aside, like it shows that Marvel does have the ability to tell new types of stories in the context of the MCU, um, without having it be like world ending. And the stakes the stakes are incredibly small. It's this unknown corner of the MCU where this protagonist that we're instantly forced to just like, who we don't really have a reason to like because again, it doesn't really affect anything that's going outside of this little bubble of the MCU. Um, and we're hooked in by just how he is and like how personable he is. And I was quite surprised by how well they characterized Jack Russell. Like I didn't expect him to be likable. I just thought he was going to be a run of the mill guy. And I don't know why I keep on thinking this, but like it's the same thing that they did with Kang or He Who Remains in Loki. Like you just imagine him being one way, but then the version that they present you with
Yeah.
is a completely different thing to what
Mhm.
you expect. So I thought that was a really good. It was a really good, well put together piece of Marvel media.
Yes. Yeah, kind of going off of that a little bit. I love the way that they characterized Jack because it was something that obviously going into it, you would expect one thing and you get the other. But I like how do I say this? Oh, okay. It's it has the cage. I like how they gave Jack that kind of persona that they gave him, but still stuck true to like a classic Wolfman. Um, in the same way that the original Wolfman kind of characterization went. Um, they gave Jack enough room to be his own person, but then still stuck it there at the end. that this is still a werewolf. This is still very much a two people, one body kind of situation. And I really, really dug that.
Woo!
So,
Dub from
do we have anything else to talk about? I had a cool idea to send us off.
Oh,
I have a cool idea as well.
Let's hear yours first.
I want to hear yours first.
I
White
want
privilege, you get to go first.
Shut up. God, now I sound bad. All right. Name a special that you would like to see in the future for what event, and what would the special be? Like, what would the special be celebrating?
Why would you just drop that on the spot?
I've got
It's
one
not-
in my head.
I've got like 5, and that was going to be my suggestion anyway to send us off anyway us off with. So
Well, since you got a lot, I got one in my head right now. What are yours? I think I know one of them.
mine
You've said that one
is,
a
and
lot.
I've spoken about it. I've spoken about it a lot. They originally intended to release Shang-Chi for Chinese New Year. I believe that what they should do for Chinese New Year next year, if they can, because this special was shot and filmed in like 3 weeks. Chinese New Year for next year, do the Ten Rings as a special, a little tiny story that picks up, or do that as a series. Other special, Miss Marvel for Eid. You do a Miss Marvel story, and you introduce her to, you get us like after she's finished saving Earth, you get us in down to a situation. I also believe that what they can do, if they want to really make the specials special, introduce a legitimate X-Men character in a special, and have that X-Men character be not Wolverine, have it be Storm.
Oh, okay.
Introduce Storm in a special, and it doesn't have to be tied to an event. It doesn't have to be tied to anything. It could just be a very like, they could maybe tie it like do like a meta tie-in or something, like have it on releasing on Storm's first appearance, on the anniversary of Storm's first appearance or something like that in the comics. I believe that if they introduce Storm in a special, and then they say at the end Storm will return in this film or whatever, that would be fantastic. So those are like 3 of my top 5. I have other ones, but yeah.
You got any, Josh?
I do. I think, especially with the Halloween sort of thing, I think Ghost Rider could be a pretty cool one.
Yes, 100%.
Obviously, Ghost Rider's had his fair share of movies, and I think a special could, in the same way that Werewolf by Night has been introduced, sort of like a different character to what we've seen. Obviously, we've not really had monsters in the MCU, so yeah, Ghost Rider is my pick.
So mine, and I thought about this, and I did a little bit of research to see if it could work, and it could. I'm on the mutant side, right? So years down, this could be so dope. Now, it doesn't have to be for an event, but if it could possibly be tied to Shogatsu, which is Japanese New Year. And it would be about the mutant Sunfire, who is one of the earliest Japanese superheroes, or possibly the first in the Marvel Comics. He was originally recruited onto the original X-Men team before he turned. It would be an anime, animated by one of the major anime studios. Could be Trigger, Wit, One, so many to pick from, with Japanese voice actors, showing like a young Sunfire and how he discovered his powers and stuff like that. I thought that could be such a cool idea.
Is Sunfire different to Sunspot?
I believe so. But yeah, that was my idea. If they wanted to do some animation specials, I think that could be really cool to start dipping their toes outside the water a little bit.
Love that. Very different.
That is very different. Would it be canonical?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. To the
Well,
616 timeline.
To the 616, like when the X-Men show up.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. Okay.
You would bring in you could bring him in before and just have that be a special about him, or you could bring him in after and just have the actor who you casted voice.
Can I tell you one that I just thought of right now?
Yeah.
Mardi Gras special and introduce Gambit.
Or okay. Yeah. That would be pretty dope. Yeah, that would be pretty sick. Hanukkah
I like
special,
the
Ben Grimm.
oh
Mm.
Have be a little solo after he's introduced, obviously, but
yeah. Or before, considering
before.
he may have already been casted.
Yeah, we never know.
We never know. But we don't do leaks. Marshall, if you're still listening.
Yes, Marshall, we don't do leaks.
But no, what do you rate Werewolf by Night out of 5 as we do 5s?
I think I'd give it a 4. It's a solid 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say 4.
I'd say 4. God, we are all so boring.
Yeah.
Well, no,
I mean,
think
it's a classic 7,
it's
you
an
know?
easy 4.
7 out of 5.
7 out
7
of
out
5.
of 5. Seven.
No, no, I really liked it. I like to see more experimentation. I would also pretty much, yeah, I'd like to see more experimentation. I think I like the kind of the anti-marketing that Marvel did for the special, where they
Yeah.
didn't announce it years in advance like they did with the Guardians one. They just sort of pretended it wasn't happening until 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Or 3 weeks ago, and they were like, "Oh, here it is. Here's a trailer. And we're going to start doing a bunch of press for it."
I feel that added to the mystery element of it, though. Like,
Yeah,
even obviously
like
we knew it was coming, and I'd argue that created sort of more buzz because people knew about it and they were talking about it. And it was like, oh, when are we getting a trailer? When are we getting an actual reveal? Because
yeah,
people were talking about it regardless.
exactly.
So yeah. So I
Yeah,
sort of like that element to it as well.
yeah. So I hope that they do that for future specials, excluding the Guardians one, obviously.
Thank you for listening. We are on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're on Patreon. All these links will be in the description. We have the website as well, thestreamer.com. Go and check it out. We've had a really good month of reviews and features, so please do go and support us. Do you guys have anything to say? And thanking the audience.
Thank you, audience, for one. Josh, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, so I assume when this is out, I will have done a tweet. It's on my to-do list. We are launching a digital publication every 2 weeks. Streamazine is the name. It's been a fun week working on it. I rang up Mo and I was like, Mo, I've got an idea, and it turns out that Mo had a similar idea as well. So it
The exact
worked.
same
So
idea.
literally the exact same idea. And
Yeah, me too, guys.
yeah, Rob did text me after I told Mo. He was like, I've got an idea.
Yeah, right after.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I was getting my
Yeah, so that
Starbucks.
should be- Go on.
I was getting my Starbucks, my venti iced salted maple and
Double
caramel latte
chocolate
with cold
chip.
foam. Gotta be
Cold
cold foam.
foam's
Gotta be a
nice.
flat lid. Gotta be a flat
Oh,
lid.
no.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Get a
I asked
straw.
for I asked for a sippy cup lid, and they were like, "Do you mean a flat lid?" And they were like, "Yeah, yeah." I don't know what it's called. But dome lids are so embarrassing.
No, when you have whipped cream, it's like it fits perfectly.
I don't
Just
get
sits
whipped
on
cream
top.
on my Starbucks.
Well, I do. So,
Okay.
anyways,
no. Anyway,
Streamazine
Streamazine.
is launching every other Friday. It's gonna be some of the stuff from the site, some new stuff. We're gonna be talking about upcoming streaming shows, and we're getting the team involved as much as possible with what they're watching. We just wanted to give you more give you all more of an insight into what we do and watch. So yes, I'm very excited for that to come out. It will be every other Fridays. So yeah, please do stay tuned and support the digital magazine. So yeah.
Thank you very much for listening on. And yeah, I think by the time this goes out, I will have a review out, which will be fun. I need to finish watching the thing that I'm reviewing. I don't even. Is it out? Anyway, yeah, I'll have some things out. Thank you for listening and or watching, not and or watching, because we don't talk and or.
I've got to watch that after this, so we will be Andor watching.
Rob, what about you?
Held that for a bit. Oh gosh, what are we even talking about, dude?
Werewolf by Night.
Yeah, love it. It's good. It's really good. You guys check it out.
Werewolf
Yes,
by Night
yes.
streams on Disney Plus Friday, 7th of October, exclusively on Disney Plus.
But is it on Disney Plus?
It is on Disney Plus.
Okay. All right. That is.
Bye.
We're gonna end it there. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.